everybody, it's Chris Eves, and known as Wootini here with another Gay Gamer video podcast for y'all. This week, I have a lot to talk about, so we're going to just try to get through it. I'll try not to get too distracted and off topic. I saw two movies last week. After I recorded the last episode, I went to see Predator Badlands in 3D, because they were still doing 3D shows, and I said, let me go and see, because I thought it would look cool in 3D. I'm not the biggest Predator fan, but I like my 3D movies, and I thought science fiction action adventure in 3D is always a good bet. And the 3D was good, but the AMC where I saw it had some bad ghosting in the projection, so that was kind of distracting and not really cool. Also, not being a huge Predator fan, I wasn't bothered by the plot of this movie. I've only ever seen the first Predator, and I don't remember it very well. I've seen it twice, and the second time I saw it, it was like the very first time I saw it. My husband's like, no, you've seen Predator. I was like, no, I haven't. I have. I just didn't remember anything about it. So, but I've never seen any of the others. I didn't see Prey, which is the last movie this guy did. But he also did an animated movie that was on Hulu that apparently explores the Predator culture and stuff and whatever maybe. So I think that's where the series is going. So the Predator is no longer like this scary monster that kills people. He's like the hero. And so I don't have any emotional attachment to the Predator series. So I was not bothered that this movie basically turns him into the Mandalorian. Having this adventure and becoming the hero. Maybe those people who are huge Predator fans would be annoyed at this turn of events, making him the hero, but I don't know. It didn't bother me. The action was fun. Some great alien creatures and plants and things, and this whole planet is trying to kill him, and he's trying to kill this one big creature. But then there's twists, and there's the Wootini synths who are, on their own mission to capture the creature, and everybody smashes together, and it's all action and violence, and it's fun. Though it is only PG-13, so the violence is clean violence. But I enjoyed it. It was fine. It's nothing I will watch again, probably. Though it does end basically with it does everything except say to be continued at the end, setting up the next movie. There's a cliffhanger, basically. So I'm assuming they're going to make another one. If it's in 3D, I'll go to that one too, because I love my 3D. And then this week, like everybody else, I went to see Wicked for Good, the second part of the Wicked Broadway musical adaptation. And of course, I saw it in 3D, because I love my 3D. So the 3D showing that I saw, the 3D matinee, was well attended, but not sold out or packed or anything. Because I think everybody else went to regular screenings or IMAX. The 3D was good though. It wasn't as good as in the first one, but it was still pretty good. At one point, Elphaba throws her broom at the camera, and I literally flinched because I was like, "Oh!" But the problem with Wicked for Good is that it is the second act of the Broadway play. So therefore, the songs aren't as good. There's literally one good song for Good. And then there's also, I'd say 1.5 songs, because the For Good is a good song, and then there's the No Good Deed Goes Unpunished song, which I think had potential to be better. It just wasn't as good as it. There's moments in it where I'm like, oh, this is really good, and I don't know if the movie orchestration ruined it, and it's actually good in the show, or if it's just like this in the show, and it's not quite as, it just needed a couple more revisions, and then maybe it could have been better. And there's also 2 new songs that I didn't even realize were new. They just were in the movie. They were added, one for each, obviously, because you're not going to play favorites. I think they're by the same people, because I didn't even notice that I've never seen the show, but they didn't stand out to me as being oh, this feels like an insert. This feels like a whole other musical, And not having seen the Broadway show, I can't really speak to, how it adapted. But my problem with it is that the Broadway show is just under 3 hours with an intermission. So the first movie was just under 3 hours. And that was really long. And then this one is like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and it feels even more padded than the first one. And I feel like there's a 2 hour and 45, 50-minute movie where you can combine them, do it in one movie, and cut out all the chaff, and do it more like the pacing of the stage show, and it would move better, and it wouldn't be as boring, and it would also maintain that emotional through line, because coming for this, it's not after, you're not coming back for the second act after a 15-minute intermission, you're coming back after a year. I mean, yes, I know I could have watched the movie again during the week before I saw this, but I didn't have 3 hours to waste. So it just doesn't, like, the emotional beats aren't like hitting because it's not a continuous experience. And it doesn't do a really good job, I feel, of reestablishing everything so that you feel all of the proper emotion at the end a year later, you know? Also, the other problem with this one is that the end of this is very much reliant on Glinda having these emotional moments, and as an actress, Ariana Grande has a beautiful singing voice. So she can't handle it. She just can't. She wasn't good in the first one, but it was like, okay. Here, there's more heavy lifting to be done, and she is just not up for it. So this was, as I like to call it, Wicked for average. Sorry, but if you're a huge fan of the show, you might enjoy it because you might not need that emotional through line. So your mileage may vary. Enjoy. As for games, I've made some progress in Disney Dreamlight Valley. Last week, they finally released the last tasks for the Star Path, and so I finished those, and I got my Witch's Cottage, and of course now it's almost the end of November, and I'm going to want to change it to something wintry for December, so thanks for that. I'll pull it back out next Halloween, I guess. Though it doesn't look as Halloween-y as the other house I had. Then also I got Lumiere's Friendship and Cogsworth's up to 10. I did Lumiere's first because I got him up to 10 first, so I did his final Friendship quest, finished that, and now I'm working on Cogsworth, which is a little more effort. There's a lot more collecting of things that takes a couple of days to do, and now I'm in all this busy work talking to all these characters, and I was like, oh, this is too much. I can't. So I just do a little bit. I can't do too much. I get annoyed. And then with Nikki, because there's nothing, I'm waiting for this season to end, and the new one starts actually I think on the 25th. So right before Thanksgiving, we're gonna get the new Land, new Region to Explore version 2.0, which I am very concerned will have so many bugs, but we'll see. So I've been just doing busy work around the house on my house island to raise my home levels, and I was like, how do you unlock cooking? Because there's cooking. And I went to go unlock cooking. It was like, oh, just craft, because the game, of course, doesn't tell you, hey, there's cooking. Here's how to unlock it. There's no instruction. So I tried to unlock it. It was like, well, you have to craft this outfit. I'm like, okay, craft it. Because I have tons of ingredients. So here. And I crafted it in 2 seconds. I had everything I needed. And I crafted the outfit. And then it gives you some cooking furniture, like a stove and then whatever. And so I made I took some furniture, moved some furniture around inside my house. I'm not building a new house because it's too complicated. So I just put some kitchen stuff in the corner. And then I went to go cook, and it was like, okay, you need ingredients. And I'm like, well, I don't know where the rest, and I'm like, oh, L2 for recipes. And I'm pressing L2 and nothing's coming up. And I'm like, but I swear when I crafted the cooking outfit, it was like, here's some furniture to cook with, and here's a couple of recipes. But I can't seem to access those recipes. I don't know. And I couldn't figure it out, and I looked online, and of course the instructions are like, just cook with these recipes. And we're like, but how do you get the recipes? The L2 button doesn't seem to bring anything up. Where do you get new recipes? I don't understand. And the game isn't helpful, and sometimes online isn't really helpful either, like Reddit and stuff. So I said, fuck it, I don't care. Then, yesterday, I was like, shouldn't this styling contest be over by now? And I went to go into the board game to throw some points around, and it was like, oh no, Gildapast has won. And I'm like, oh, so it's over. Great. Yay. And then I'm like, so if it's over, don't I how do I finish the quest? So I was like, let me just maybe you have to go back to the styling island. And as soon as I teleported in, a cutscene began, and of course it was exactly as I expected it, where they're like, congratulations to Gilded Past, who won. Wild Hearts, my team, was third because nobody wanted to be on that team, so it didn't do very well. But as I expected, it didn't matter how your team did because the individual award goes to Nikki. And everybody is Nikki, so everyone gets the award. So it's exactly as I expected. So that's over. And it's funny because at the end, like, Dada's like, oh, we're going to miss you. And Nikki's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, but you're such a fabulous stylist. You're clearly going to go on to greater things and go explore new areas. And it's like, well, we don't know when I'm leaving yet, so let's not cry about it yet. Because, the game hasn't added that section yet, so we'll deal with that next week. But it was just weird because it felt like, it was like, this is the end of the game. Well, this part of the game. It was just sort of an odd cutscene. Weird dialogue. So, looking forward to exploring Itzaland and hopefully not encountering too many bugs next week. Then, as I expected, I finished Stray. That weapon that you get to use against the Zerks, that's sort of half effective, when you finish that section, it blows up and you can't use it anymore. And I was like, what the fuck? Now I gotta do more chase scenes? But you don't. It's fine. Because you keep moving up. So there's no more Zerks. You don't have to worry about that anymore. What you do have to worry about, though, is these robot sentinels. And it becomes a stealth game for a section. And I was like, motherfucker. I hate stealth games. I just hate it. And it's very Metal Gear because you hide in a box, which I thought was funny. But the problem is that the checkpoints are for shit. So, like, I would go a little ways, I'd go a few rooms, I'd get caught, I couldn't get in a box fast enough, I get shot, and then I have to start over. And I saw that starting point so many times. It was awful. I was getting really irritated. And then worse, in like the second room, as you're going through to get to where you gotta go, there's this robot who's like, I can't find my keys. And then you find his keys. And then you also find a shortcut to get back to the beginning. And then you give him his keys. And then I'm like, okay, now let me go back to where I was, supposed to go to continue the story. But I got caught. And I went back to the beginning. And I'm like, fuck. That didn't count as a checkpoint. I go to talk to, I was like, hey, robot. And he's like, hey, I lost my keys. Can you help me get them? And I'm like, motherfucker, that didn't even save? God damn it. So I was super annoyed. And I don't know why, but I did it again. And I brought him his keys and then made it to the thing I made it to the end without getting caught. So that and I don't know why I bothered to do that, because all you get as a reward is a badge. And I hadn't gotten all the badges. I know I missed one or two. So, I wasn't going to get a trophy for getting all the badges. So if I skipped this one as well, it wouldn't make any difference. And all I did was stress myself out more. So I don't know why I did that, but glutton for punishment. And then, finally you finish the stealth section, you get to the top, and then you have to do some puzzles, but they're not hard. This game is not hard with puzzles. And then there's a kind of sad ending, and then it's kind of a lovely, slightly optimistic ending for the rest of the people. But again, I missed some of the badges. I got to the end and I missed a bunch of memories along the way. And the problem is that those memories were during the stealth section, where you're being stealthy and then you get caught and put in jail, and then you have to stealth your way out of jail. And I missed a whole bunch of memories in the jail because I'm more concerned with getting where I gotta go, because in a stealth game, I'm not inclined to explore because I don't want to get caught and have to go all the way back to that checkpoint that was from fucking 10 minutes ago, So I don't want to risk that, because this game had shitty checkpoints for the stealth parts. But overall, I enjoyed the game, aside from a few chase sequences that were difficult and I had to repeat, and the stealth section that I had to repeat a bunch of times, half dozen or so. Overall, I enjoyed it. The cat's adorable. Exploring was cool. The world that they built was cool. The robots were delightful. It was good. I'm glad I didn't pay $30 for it. But for free with PlayStation Plus, perfectly fine. So I enjoyed that. And then I was like, what am I going to play next? And I'm looking through my PlayStation Plus library, and I'm like, and I stumbled upon Jusant? I'm not sure. I think it's Jusant. It sounds better. Which is a game where you're this boy with this like blobby friend who has to climb this giant stone column in the middle of the desert. And it's this planet that was, this world that was an ocean world, but is now, all the water is gone. So now everything is dried up and there's no one around anymore. Everyone's gone. And you basically just explore this abandoned civilization. There's no dialogue. You get the story through journals and notes and papers and whatever. And that kind of builds, shares what this world was like. And the basic gist of it is climbing to the top. I was concerned, but thankfully in this game, the climbing is a lot less realistic than in Cairn, which you might recall many episodes ago. I talked about trying that demo and getting frustrated immediately and falling to my death a couple of times and saying, F this. Here you're not controlling the legs, you're only controlling your two hands, and the left trigger is the left hand, the right trigger is the right hand, and use the directional stick to direct yourself as you climb. Thankfully, the climbing is less realistic, but it's also occasionally like really irritating. It's not as irritating, but there are a bunch of times when there's a bunch of handholds and he goes, and I'm like, just grab something. And I start mashing the buttons and then he's like, oh, and then he moves. So the climbing is not, the controls are not great. Like once in a blue moon, you'll climb and it'll be very intuitive and it's like, and you'll just do, and it's fine. It's very intuitive. But like 90% of the time, it's like, it's an effort because the controls aren't great. It's still better than Cairn, so I was like, okay, this is fine. Also, this is a much more interesting world to explore. So I don't mind climbing around and swinging and grabbing and whatever to explore this world because it's kind of fascinating and interesting, even though I am afraid of heights and there have been a few moments where I'm like, ah! Although you can't really like run off a ledge. The game won't let you. Like there's an invisible wall to keep you from just like jumping off and falling. So I've yet to fall to my death. It's fine. But so far I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying exploring this world. I feel like I'm past the halfway point already. It's another very short indie game. So come back next episode and I will have the new world of Infinity Nikki to talk about Itzaland, and I'll give you final impressions on Jusant, and probably some other stuff. I'll start another game, maybe another small indie game. We'll see. Who knows? Find out next time. Bye!